There's only one thing I want to talk about with A Plague's Tale: Innocence. The one takeaway that kept me playing the game, despite its super heavy focus on stealth and somewhat simple gameplay, the most important thing that I took away from it was the relationship between Amicia and her little brother Hugo. Because the story starts with this royal family being invaded by the Inquisition, and Amicia and Hugo's parents are the first to confront them. So, their father beheaded, their mother dies trying to keep them away as Amicia and Hugo are escaping. And then, for the rest of the game, they're left to themselves. They're even referred to as the orphans in the loading screens. When you start up the game again, the chapter loading screens give you a small recap of what you played before, and they're referred to as orphans. So, what I found most interesting is that there's a mystery going on. Hugo is kept separated from Amicia and from really everyone in the town, except for his mother who's watching after him. And the mystery is something is up with Hugo. The only thing you could tell is that he probably has some disease, he's sick in some way. It leads you to believe maybe he's contagious or maybe he's beyond saving. For whatever reason, he's kept very sheltered in his room. He barely leaves. So, the assumption that you get from that is that Amicia and Hugo didn't really grow up together. Even though they're years apart. Hugo is 5 years old, Amicia is 15. Still very young, but there's definitely a huge age gap. But with that background, after the tragic event of losing their parents and having to run off on their own, I just find it so heartwarming, and I find Amicia so caring and loving to quickly take on Hugo in this, tragic event, this dire situation, and she's immediately burdened with all this responsibility. She has to take care of him, watch over him, and basically be his sister and his mother and protector all at the same time within this short amount of time because of the events that happened. It was so nice seeing the relationship unfold. There's a lot of love between them, and there's hardship as well. There's decisions that have to be made that upsets Amicia or upsets Hugo, and sometimes Amicia has to keep information from him because he's too young, he wouldn't understand. I don't want to get into that yet. I'll save that for a little bit later. But there's the hard decisions that they had to make in order to survive the plague, which is this infestation of hundreds of thousands of rats in this city. They have to make the hard choices of sometimes sacrificing a pig and letting the pig get eaten away by rats as they can pass by just barely onto the next town. Or instead of a pig, sometimes it might be a person, a helpless person who's barely surviving already and they already have no hope. Or it's probably even one of the guards of the Inquisition, which in that case is not so hard of a decision. But there are situations like that where Hugo is just too young to understand. He doesn't see why it's necessary to take a life or to kill people. He's a little scared when Amicia has to do it. Amicia as well, when she first starts, her only weapon in this game is a slingshot. She's only using it for the most necessary decisions. You can sneak around the whole game as much as possible, but there are some occasions where you have to take someone's life. It's not easy. So the options you get are sometimes tossing a rock, making a sound in a different direction, and you can sneak by. Or you can toss a pot, or you can hit some armor that's sitting in a chest and have the ding get the attention of some guards. Yeah, sometimes there's a split decision and your only option is to take someone's life. And Amicia is not open to that immediately. She's not out for blood. She's not there to kill anyone. She she's angry and sad, obviously, of what's happened. She's upset over what happened with her mother and her father, but she's not bloodthirsty seeking for revenge. She just wants to keep Hugo safe now. She wants to keep herself safe and Hugo safe. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate that the game shows them growing their brotherly and sisterly relationship. And they have such a close bond for not having spent a lot of time together before these events. Through these dark times, they came closer. That's oftentimes what happens. If you lose a loved one in your family or a close friend, usually it brings the family together or the bigger group of friends together in those times. It makes you realize what's important. It makes you put aside your petty differences and realize that life is short, and it's not always fair. But you have to take advantage of what you have and appreciate what you have. And I think Amicia, being only 15 years old, did a great job of looking after her brother. And eventually you start running into other characters too. You run into Lucas, who's an assistant to an alchemist that you run into. Because the story, I don't want to give away any of the mystery of what's going on with Hugo, but he is sick in some way. They do lead you correctly right off the bat, right from the beginning of the game, that he is sick and they're looking for a cure. And it involves alchemy. And his mother knew this alchemist, and yeah, Laurentius. But when you run into Laurentius, he's already sick himself. He's been bitten by a rat, and he doesn't have much longer to live. And that's when you meet Lucas, his assistant, who's been learning under him as a pupil, and he's studying to become an alchemist himself. And even when he joins the crew for the time that they have together, she looks after him too, because he's also a young boy. He's older than Hugo, probably, I would say, 10 years old or 12 years old. He seems a little older, but he's still young, he's still a boy. And Amicia immediately looks after him. And that's just such a powerful quality to show that she loves unconditionally, she looks after people, and she sees the good in people. Because when they first meet, they have no relationship whatsoever. She doesn't know his life and he doesn't know her. That's what I respect about her. And Hugo, he has great qualities as well. He's optimistic, he's loving, he loves his sister, even though he barely grew up with her, as we spoke about. He loves his mother, his dad. He also sees the good in people as well. When you begin to meet more people in the game, he's very open with them. He's open to talking with them. He's open to being playful. He's a little cheery. When you meet him, you wouldn't think that he's so sick or that he's just lost his parents who he loves so much, or that all he has is his sister and no other family, or that he lost his home. So they keep a great attitude throughout the darkest moments in their life. And that's what kept me playing this game. It's just so nice to see a relationship like that in a story. And it's hard to ignore and not relate to it yourself. I have a sister that took care of me in the same way. We're only 3 years apart, but when we were much younger, she had the responsibility of taking care of me when my mom wasn't around. And I looked up to her for that. I always went to her for guidance, advice, problems with school and homework, and getting to school or just getting around. She showed me how to be independent. So I did have a strong connection to this brother and sister relationship. I did see Amicia as a hero, and I think this game did a great job of showing the love between a brother and sister.
shy whale that doesn't want to show itself.
It's shy because it's small, but I'm sure it's pretty.
Over to you!